much, Ian.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Scott.
Good afternoon. Yeah.
Good to see you again. Just team news ahead of Manchester City. Any major injury concerns to report?
No major injury concerns. We're pretty good at the moment, really. So long may that continue. So yeah, we're all good leading into this game.
Just wonder, leading into this game, as you mentioned there, how do you kind of assess where the team is at the moment? And do you feel like you're kind of where you wanted to be, or below or above where you would have thought?
Well, I think we're in a really good place, to be fair, Dan. We've obviously, fixture-wise, at the start of this season, we've had some real tough, challenging fixtures. And we see that early on when they came out, really. And we've been hugely competitive, like I said, and very positive. Had to show some resilience about us at times, which we've managed to come through, which has been hugely encouraging for me, which has been posed some tough challenges in different circumstances, in different games, really, and we've seemed to take some real encouragement from them moments, really, performed pretty well, and obviously been on the wrong end of a couple of them results in tough challenges in the last minute of 2 penalties, but overall I'm really pleased with where we are.
Talk about those tough challenges. Now going to the Etihad this week, and how much can those challenges really show that this team can go to the Etihad? Because as you mentioned there, 2 of those games were decided by penalties.
Well, yeah, look, I personally don't see many tougher challenges, really. A football club, players, coach, which have been in and around the eliteness and world-classness of Man City. So for sure, we've got a big challenge ahead of us. But I revert back to what I said. In this early part of the season, 5 games down, we've come through that, and that fills me with big confidence, really. So no doubt we're going up against a colossus of a team, and we understand that, and we'll approach it like we have over the last few weeks when we face this sort of opposition, and hopefully give the best version of ourselves. At times, as you know, we're going to have to suffer, of course we are, but we'll adopt an attitude and a confidence and a belief in ourselves that we can go and show the best version of ourselves and hopefully cause them problems.
I remember, Scott, in pre-season we spoke just after Kyle Walker signed for the club, but now returning against his former club. How much has his experience really made a difference so far this season, and how much do you think he'll be able to help against his former side?
Well, he's been massive, massive for us, really, his experience and just his quality as well. I think we always seem to revert back to Carl, and we speak about his experience, but I think his quality as well is something that we've all seen in a real short period of time, really. So I think the biggest compliment I can pay to Carl is his reaction to probably the different environment, different way of playing at times with us and what he's probably been used to. I mean, I had absolutely no doubt when bringing Carl in here that it would be one that he'd embrace every bit of that, really. And he has done that. He's embraced it every bit. And never seen a frustration. In fact, I've seen a real positive encouragement and wanting to support and help. That's what I'm pleased with the most, really.
And just final one from me, Scott, if you don't mind. City, as you mentioned, colossus of a team. I know that you'll say they have stars all over, but Erling Haaland has started the season pretty impressively. If he does start on the weekend, I just wonder, how do you look to combat him? And do you feel like he's improved over the last few years, if you've seen him?
Yeah, look, he's an absolute world-class centre-forward who his numbers suggest that, really. You're playing against such a high-level team that really, for every player that you want to focus on, there's the next one that you probably need to focus on as well. So I think as a group, in terms of how we go about our work, we're going to need to be really diligent. We're going to need to be organised, and we're going to need to show our quality as well. We're going to need to try and give over a version of ourselves and try and stress as much as we can. But yeah, Haaland is a top player.
Scott, how much better prepared do you think your team is now for this challenge than even when you started this campaign?
Well, yeah, I think we're definitely better prepared. We've gone through some experiences over the last 4 or 5 games that we've been able to learn from, really, and experiences sometimes have been negative ones for us, and maybe we've struggled in certain moments. Certainly when I look back at the Spurs game at the start of the season, there was elements to that where it looked very new for us, or certainly there were things that we needed to improve on, and I see a slow progression. So yeah, I have absolutely no doubt that we're going to be in a better place than we were a couple of months ago. But of course, we need to be right at it the weekend to get through them moments as well.
When you play in a match like this for the players, obviously, the recent experiences you've had going up against top teams, you've stuck to the plan. At Manchester United, you showed a reaction to going behind. Against Liverpool, it was different. It was hanging in there for as long as possible and sticking to the plan. How much do these matches and these occasions test the players' ability to stick to the plan and keep those instructions that you've given them in mind when there's all sorts going on?
Yeah, that's probably one of the most fundamentals, really, in these sort of games. The level of concentration and the level of focus, it needs to be at optimum. And it does in the Premier League anyway, but when you're going up against this sort of calibre of a team, it needs to be fundamental, really. And there's elements to Liverpool where we was very, very good, and then that side of the game I thought we was incredible at. There was elements that we can improve on, and I'm hoping that we can see more improvement from the Liverpool game going into this one, really. But you're right in what you're saying. You need to be highly tuned in, stick to plan. And of course, that plan can change due to dynamics of how the game may see or what may happen. But high level of focus from us.
Have you spoken to Kyle about the emotion of going back to the Etihad?
I haven't, no. I'm sure there will be. This is a guy who spent 10 years, I think it was, Kyle spent there in arguably a decade of incredible achievement and success, really. So I haven't really gone into real detail. I've probably spoken to him more about how we see best this weekend.
You picked his brains Fridays?
Not really. No, little conversations. I always pick the lads' brains in certain moments, so I'm sure I'll ask him a few things.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
Hi, Scott.
Hi, Dan.
How much would it be fair to describe three at the back as plan A at the moment?
Yeah, I think it's probably fair to say that probably our main structure this year, or certainly in terms of early part, in saying that we've been pretty flexible, and we've gone about it in different personnel that sometimes is probably maybe more defensive, and then other times where it's a bit more looser in terms of that phases. But I think it's fair to say a lot of the work we have done, while we've done an extreme amount of work over the course of pre-season in different variations, the main structure has probably been a back three.
We see a lot of systems that are flexible these days, where in possession it's one thing, out of possession it's another. Is it an overly simple label to put on something? To say you're playing three at the back, you're playing four at the back? Is it more nuanced than that?
Yeah, it's much more than that, really. If you really look to the detail, formations change. Yeah, they're becoming much more fluid, and that's what you're trying to achieve. The games evolve, really, and at any moment that formation in a team can look very, very different due to different circumstances in terms of the fluidness of what midfielders play, how they build around you, whatever it may be. So I think there's always a template and there's a base structure that you'll obviously go with, but fundamentally off of your base structure, you're always trying to create different shapes and different positions to obviously have an effect on what the opposition are doing, really.
Because there was a lot of coverage of City when they played at Arsenal, and it being a very un-Pep-like performance in terms of not having lots of the ball and a very physical, great team of athletes. Is that a measure of where the Premier League is going, that the guy who has made his career out of playing a certain way is now being more pragmatic?
I don't know about that. I just think there's a genius of a coach, arguably one of the best coaches that we will see working things out, and this is how he sees best. And I don't think anyone sitting in this room or myself could ever argue with what Pep sees as best at that present moment in time, game dynamics, how he's seeing the game, what he's seeing best. And like all of us, and I often, when you ask me these questions, that's exactly how we trying to look at it fundamentally, is where are the players at this moment, where are we struggling, what do we probably need to make this easier for them. And at times, whatever that outcome is, or however you see best, is how you try and operate, really. So that's how I see it.
How much do you relish that, Scott, as a football person, but obviously as a coach, that looking at all of the factors and trying to find the right answer and the right formula?
Yeah, I like it. some long nights on the laptop, to be honest with you, just studying it. And when you come up with something else, before you know it, that quickly disappears, and you find another solution, then that disappears. And sometimes in games, after 10 minutes, the plan that you thought was going to work quickly doesn't. So while I love that aspect of trying to fundamentally help the team in the environment what they're going into, and trying to give them solutions, like I said, this it does move pretty quickly.
You've got a great staff around you. I've heard you talk about this before, and obviously lots will go into those videos being ready for you. But how much is it still you sitting there looking at it and going, I've got an idea?
Well, a lot of it fundamentally it'll end up in me making a decision on how I see best. Like I always say, Dan, my staff around me and the network around me is pretty incredible, really, and they take a lot of load, and certainly at times when things are really busy can help. But I think fundamentally we all try and get our heads around certain things. We all have our different ideas and very open conversations on what we see best at certain moments, and fundamentally it falls with me to then make a call. Sometimes that call will be what my gut is telling me. Sometimes that call will be with a suggestion or an idea what someone else has come up with, really. So then normally the processes that we go through.
Feels to me like your bond personally with the supporters at Burnley is going from strength to strength this season. How much do you think it suits the personality of this club and a lot of the supporters to go into a game like this and be underdogs and have people like the idiots with the microphones sitting here writing you off?
Definitely. And I think how important that is for me, and how important it is for everyone at the club and the players, but it's also important for me. You sit in a position, and I always say you sit in a position, and at times you need that support. We all do. The players do. Everyone at the football club does. So no stronger club are the clubs where everyone's on the same page and everyone's pushing in the right direction, understanding the challenges that football possesses, and at times you can lose football matches. No knee-jerk, a real honest and reflection on things. And when we need to be critical, we'll be critical, and I'll expect the fans to be critical as well. On the flip side of that is sometimes you can lose football matches, and it's not down to being critical at that moment. Maybe there's different things you certainly need. And at this present moment in time, I do feel that. I feel every bit of that. I think we've given the fans that, but certainly I feel a real togetherness in what we are this year, what we're going to be. I understand it. I've tried to deliver that message constantly to this group and to these players, to have a real humility about us and understand the situation we're in. And at times we are underdogs, and we're going to have to fight. We're going to have to scrap. We're going to have to do everything in our powers to survive in certain moments. But with them traits and with that, you have a chance, really. So, and I'm not neglecting the other side of our quality, because for sure we've got that. But we need to build something, or we need to hold on to something that a talent, a tactic is not required. And that is a togetherness, a bond that fundamentally we just know is there. And we've had that for 40 months I've been in here. That's what got us 100 points last year. There's going to be a different journey this year, but there's something that what can't change is exactly that, really. And
just lastly from me, these are the days, aren't they, that you battled for last season to get 100 points to get to the Premier League?
Exactly that, mate. We've sit here prepping for this week, not fearful one bit. This is exactly every bit we did last year. We worked tirelessly to be on these stages against the best, and this is a chance for us to show that, really. So we're hugely excited about the weekend, really.
Just going to take one at the back from Adam from PA, and then we'll move on to the section.
Thank you. Hi, Scott.
Hi.
What did you think when you saw this incredibly tough run of fixtures at the start of the season, and were you concerned that it could be maybe potentially difficult to recover from?
No denying, when the fixtures come out, you look at it and it's definitely a tough start for us, for sure. I never had any thoughts of the what ifs. I lived my life a long while ago, never thinking what if. You think what if, and it can be a long road for us. So I knew there was challenges, but again, there ain't really many easy fixtures in this division. They come thick and fast, and every fixture you can look at any moment in time and think it's a difficult one, really. So how we've got through them fixtures is every bit of what I've spoke about in this press conference, really, and what I've seen in us. So we'll take them challenges, and I think that's the biggest thing. We'll face these challenges absolutely head on, and we may fall short sometimes. For sure, we're definitely going to fall short. But trust me, we'll go and face them head on.
And do you think in the end it could be maybe not the perfect start to the season, but in terms of the challenges that your team have had to come up against straight away, when you then go into the following fixtures, do you think actually it could turn out to be a positive thing?
Definitely, and I've seen that already, really, because we have faced some problems, some issues. Old Trafford only 2 weeks ago, the first 30 minutes, the scoreline could have been drastic. It could have been 2 or 3. We managed to survive in that moment, and then we have something about us to get ourselves back in the game. Quickly after that, they score straight away. Again, another dent for us. So there's been massive areas what I look at. For the first time, this team hasn't lost many games last year. It lost 2 football matches. So there's always learning for me. What's our reaction going to be like when we go and lose a game, or we go down in a game? And at this present moment in time, like last year, this team have constantly showing me traits which are, we'll be all right.
Thank
Great.
you.
We'll turn the cameras off then, please.